Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We're swinging up into Pennsylvania. We've got Wendy Goeden on the call this week. Wendy, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you, John, for having me. I really appreciate you letting me get my story out there.
Absolutely. It is an honor. As always, we're always excited to have these stories. And this one is, well, I think it's going to be great in a lot of different ways, because we're going to talk about three different horses, three different stages of life. We've got a Colt. We're going to talk about how it's helped with development. Your older senior horse, how it's helped with this horse. And then your great barrel horse, which had some crazy mystery lameness issues going on. So where would you like to start? I'll let you decide which one we want to talk about first.
Wow, we can sure talk about my good barrel horse.
Okay. Yeah, let's start there.
He was the reason I found it in the first place.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's start with your barrel horse. So how old is your barrel horse at the time when you started having the issues? Give us a little background on your horse there, and then how you found our product.
Well, when I first got her, she was a 10-year-old broodmare. Basically, she was supposed to have been broke, but we found out she really wasn't. So we ended up breaking her, and I started her on barrels. So she was 10 years old when all this started, and I was running her, and she was doing pretty good. She was doing pretty good. She won me saddle the first year I was running her in the South Dakota NBHA. I won the 5D championship there. For her first year, for 4 months of running, she did really well. And then we got into the next year, and I was running her hard, and I was signed up to go to the all-in barrel race out in Las Vegas. And halfway through the year, she just went lame. She went lame. She had on her left side, her right side, she would limp on her hind legs. And so I went through the motions, all the vets, 3 vets. Nobody could determine what happened. Nobody can determine anything that was wrong. She wasn't responding to any injections, and they injected her shoulders because they thought that was maybe what it was. She was overcompensating for something in her shoulders with her hind end, so it was making her sore. They did her hocks. They blocked stifles. They injected SIs. We did everything, and she was still lame. She would still, it helped a little. It would take a little of the lameness away, but she was still lame. She was off. I couldn't run her. And I'm not into drugging my horse up to run to make her be comfortable just so I want to run her. So basically I started looking for something else. The vets said, they couldn't figure it out. We had ultrasounds. I had everything. Nobody could figure it out. We did x-rays. We did everything. There was nothing showing. We didn't know what it was. About
how much money, or you might not want to reveal that, were you in?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It was a few $1,000s, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because I went to chiropractors, I went to massage therapists, I had the MagnaWave, the PFEs, I did everything for her. Because I was supposed to be going to Vegas in December, and we're in June, and I'm like, oh my Lord, how can I have her, healthy enough to even run? And so, one vet even told me I should have her hips operated on because they just couldn't figure anything out. It had to be her hips. And so she might need surgery. And then, it's a 50-50 chance that she's ever going to run again after that. So that's when I started looking, and I saw an ad one day on Facebook and went to the website, looked at it, did the research, looked at the pod, look at all the different testimonials and the different podcasts and the videos of the horses.
Sure.
That, I've seen the lame horses, and then they're like, this is 2 weeks, this is a month. And so basically about that time, I'm like, well, I've already put all this money into her. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So let's try it. And I did. I got a sample. I got the sample, the 2-week sample, and I started her on it. And in 2 weeks, she was actually not lame anymore. I mean, she was still off and she was still not sound, but you couldn't really, if you didn't know she was hurt or lame, you wouldn't have been able to tell she was. I knew she was, so I could see it. But I just decided after that, I'm like, wow, I don't know what this is, but that's when I got the big tub and had her on it. And I'm thinking by September, she'd been off. I mean, she'd been off from June to September. And so I started riding her again in September thinking, December, I got to be in Vegas. I didn't have another horse. I didn't have another horse at that time that I could just throw in the trailer and take to run this race. So I started slow working her again, and she come back stronger than ever. We went to the NBHA finals the next year, and I won the 3D state championships on her in that year. The next year, we were running 1D times, so I was in the 1 and 2D at the NBHA state championships for South Dakota. So, I mean, it's an amazing product. I can't believe what it did for her. You guys actually gave me my horse back because I didn't have one at that time.
Oh, that is incredible. I mean, so we're talking from as lame as you could get, injected everywhere, 3 vets, 2 chiropractors, a massage therapist, and a partridge in a pear tree. Couldn't figure
basically,
out.
Yep.
So, and then even possibly recommending hip surgery because, well, don't know what's going on specifically. And so you order a 2-week sample of the Equinety Horse Excel, and you notice changes in that 2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks, yep. You could lunge her, and she would be lame. And after the 2 weeks, you could see a little, but nothing like she was. And I was thinking, man, if I can see that in 2 weeks, I'm going to put her on this stuff. And to this day, she's still on it. To this day, I have never taken her off of it, and I won't ever. It's just amazing. This horse is so special to me. I mean, she's part of my family. She could come in my bedroom and sleep in my room. That's how I feel about this mare.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those who are tuning in for the first time, this is not a miracle supplement. I will throw that out there. Although you scratch your head sometimes and wonder about that. But what it is, it's 100% pure amino acids that are specifically formulated to give the body what it needs to release its own hormones that are specific for repair. So when you can do that, you're allowing the body to release its own repairing hormones, and then the body is able to send those to its own problem areas. So we have a lot of cases when we're talking about mystery lameness issues and where people have tried all kinds of different things and people are scratching their heads. And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast. We were hearing so many of these types of stories, and we thought, well, this would be a great way to get this out. With the Equinety Horse Excel, there's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. Serving size is 5.2 grams, which is about like a teaspoon. And just put that right in their feed, and it starts working in 24 hours. And although, Wendy, you notice changes in less than 2 weeks, and a lot of people do, I would say the vast majority, upper 90 percentiles are seeing changes in 30 days or less. And that can go, beyond that, depending on what's going on with the horse. I mean, there's no way to really know, but I'd say the vast majority are 30 days or less. So that's pretty incredible, that story. And you've got your horse back, you're running better than ever. And with a possible massive surgery and a pasture ornament to now doing what you were wanting to do all along anyways, which is run barrels.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for this. I'm so thankful I tried it. I don't actually know what I would have done if I hadn't have found it. I probably would have ended up breeding her and never ridden her again. Then she would still be in pain. So,
Yep.
I wouldn't like that either. So,
have you had any comments from the vets, chiropractors, or massage therapists? Have they seen this horse since then?
I do have a vet that he's a vet and a chiropractor, and he couldn't believe it. I mean, he's a vet that he's at a lot of the big races. He does a lot of chiropractors on the big barrel horses and stuff like that. So yeah, he couldn't believe it. He's got videos, and he even went as far as to call like Kansas State, Iowa State, Minnesota State, the big equine programs for the colleges, where he came from or where he went to. And he had people looking at videos of her, and he couldn't get, he's still, to this day, he's just like, I don't know what it did, but I'm sure glad you found it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I will agree with that. Okay, so let's go to the next horse. We've got a senior horse and a colt. Which one did you use the product on next, and why?
I used it on my senior horse because he was 21, and he loved, he loved to run. He loved his job. He liked to run barrels. He loved his poles. And so when I got my mare, she was my barrel horse, and so I kept him for poles. And he ended up, I believe they had diagnosed him with kissing spine, which is painful.
Yes.
Especially when you got him saddled. And I was doing everything, right for his, as far as to get that done. He needed to probably have surgery on it, but I knew I was going to be retiring him. So I kept him, blanketed thick and kept the saddles right on him and just started Equinety. And it was just amazing how he went from wanting to like bite you or, stomp at you for saddling or throwing the saddle pad on him or the saddle to standing there and being a good boy because it didn't hurt all the time. And he had tendon issues too, as far as that goes. I did always keep him booted up, but he was 21 and he'd run most of his life.
Yeah.
So he was just getting older. So I just figured, for his last year, I'd keep him on something. And so I used that on my mare. So I'm like, well, if it did that for her, maybe it can help him. And, the last year that I ran him, he did very well. We were still running, 22, 23 second pole patterns. And, he was still placing in the barrels and winning 3Ds and 3D barrel races and 1D pole races. So, it kept him comfortable, and I sold him. A little boy has him now, and I think they still have him on it too.
Yeah, they better.
Oh yeah, he's a pretty amazing horse too. But
yeah, that's great. Now, when it comes to your colt, you had reached out to us because I think your question was, will it help, or is it safe for colts? Can it help with development? Tell us, or give us this whole story. What happened with this one?
The baby, he was out of a stud in South Dakota where I was at the time. He was winning 1D futurities, and he was out of one of my good brood mares. And the morning he was born, it was great. He was up and drinking and running around, just being a colt. I put him out, and it was warmer. I put him out, and they ran around a little bit, put him back in the stall. And I had him at a barn that had cameras. So I went home, and because I'd been there all night with her, and went home, took a shower, did some stuff here, my chores, went back up to the barn later that evening, and he was laying in the stall. And I asked the girls, I'm like, hey, has he been up? And they're like, yeah, he was up, nursing, but we haven't seen him up lately. So I go in, and he's just laying in the stall. He's not moving. I couldn't get him up. He was lethargic. And so, of course, we called the vet. And they come out, and it was dehydrated. And we never did figure out what it was. I didn't have all the tests run, but it was something intestinal. He'd have picked up a parasite or something coming through the birth canal, and it was just eating him up. So I basically spent the next week at the barn in the stall with the colt. I had to run IV fluids through him every hour on the hour for a couple days. So it was no sleep and stress, thinking, gosh, I hope this colt lives. He's really, he's a nice colt. Don't want to lose that. And then he started getting a little better and a little stronger. And so the fluids went on for that week. We weaned him off of it by the last day. It was one bag every 5 or 6 hours just to keep him hydrated. So he was up nursing on his mom, but it just didn't seem like he was getting enough. So we started him with a little bit of supplement milk in a bottle and syringe at first. And he learned how to drink out of a bucket really fast. So, So I'm figuring the first week, he spent laying on his side because he really didn't get up. And so now he's up and he's drinking out of a bucket. And I've seen what Equinety does. I've used it on other horses than just the ones we talked about. I had a horse cut a knee and it was split wide open, and I put him on that and the healing was amazing. So I'm like, okay, so this Colt, that's why I reached out. Hey, is it safe for Colt? Can I give it to him? Because I really believe in the product, because it's worked so many times for me. And you guys have said yes. So when he's drinking his milk, the Equinety was in there. He was drinking that too. Once he did finally get up that week, the next week, we could see that because he hadn't been up stretching his legs like he should have been, or running or anything like that his tendons were starting to contract. And it was pulling him over the knees. And he was standing. I mean, it was almost sad. I didn't want him to be crippled. That was the last thing.
Right.
There was just the last straw at that time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my Lord, I've done all this. Now I'm going to have a crippled colt. And so I basically put him on his Equinety when he was a week too old,
right,
drinking it in his bucket every day, because I gave it to him. I gave him bucket milk twice a day, every day for the first month that he was alive. And I could see in the first month, he was bad. I thought this colt's going to be crippled. And so I talked to my farrier and I talked to you guys. And I think between the two of them now, he is straight-legged and is just an amazing built colt for something that was almost dead the first day of his life. Oof. It was it's just helped his development. I can't even put into words. It would take pictures to show what this has actually done for him, which is just amazing. And to strengthen them tendons, it was amazing.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about this product as well, because we're working at the cellular level. So we're talking skeletal ligaments, tendons, soft tissue. And, as I mentioned earlier, it's not the magic powder, although people do call it that.
I do.
Yeah.
It's my lifesaver.
Yeah. But, when it comes down to it, when your farrier's trying to help your horse specifically, if it's specifically talking about a farrier in the hoof, if there's not much hoof to work with, there's not much for the farrier to do. And so by, giving this product, it really helps in hoof development as an example, which ultimately gives your farrier more to work with in a shorter amount of time. And we have other podcasts with farriers that have been on here that have seen things with this product that they've never seen in one case in 59 years. It's just really, really amazing. But again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we're in this podcast, we're talking about 3 different horses, 3 different stages of life, and how it's helped each one specific to their needs. And that's because the amino acids are giving the body what it needs to release its own hormones, and then it's that horse's body that determines where to send its own hormones for the repair. So in essence, it's customizing to each horse. And you mentioned another horse that had a pretty bad cut, and I would think, we're going on 7 years of being on the market with this product, specifically the Horse Excel. And I would think of course, we don't hear all of them, but in all the stories that we've heard about recovery and repair, they seem to always repair ahead of schedule when they're using this product, because,
Oh yeah. I've so noticed that. Yes, that is so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's we're blessed for sure. It's an amazing product with amazing stories. So for those tuning in, maybe there might be somebody that's it's like, well, that sounds pretty good, but maybe it's a little too good to be true. Is there anything that you would have to say to that person or persons that still might be on the fence to get them to try the product?
I would say try it, because I was one of those people. I was one of those skeptics, looking at all of the testimonials and watching the videos. And I really was. I was really skeptical, but at that point I had tried everything else. There was I didn't really have anything else left to try to get my horse back. It was go out in the pasture and be lame for the rest of your life, or try this product that looks like it's helping horses that have been lame or foundered or whatever.
Right.
And so, like I said nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So I tried it, and I already put thousands of dollars into this horse, and I wasn't, I wasn't ready to give up and quit on her yet. And I was happy and amazed when I found this. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've gotten people to use it and try it, and here, take some of mine, try it on your horse, see if it works. Believe me, I've done it. I even had a girl that she injected her barrel horse's hocks, and when they started using that, he didn't need injections anymore. I was, and he was an older horse too, but
yeah,
they quit injecting him. So I totally believe in this product. I love the way, if my horses get hurt, it helps heal, and it heals so fast and so nice. I can't say enough good things about it. I haven't really heard any drawbacks from it. I'm sure it doesn't work for all horses, but it's worked on the number of ones that I've used it on.
Yeah. It's the thing with amino acids, they're the building blocks of protein. So they have to work. Typically what I found over the years, in the very few instances where we've had people say, I tried this and it didn't work. Typically, well, of course, we don't know what they're looking for most of the time. Second thing is, and we hear this a lot from people that we've even had with guests on the podcast, and they say patience is the biggest thing, because, there's been times where somebody went through 90 to 100 days and they're like, I don't know if this stuff works, but I'll give it one more try. And then it works like in the fourth month. So sometimes, and, there was one in particular podcast from last month, I think it was, it was a pretty severe founder case, but it took a year and I think 8 months to get this horse. And she was going out for a trail ride the day that we were recording. So, it all depends on the situation, and patience is a big thing. But the good news with this product is it starts working in 24 hours. The vast majority do see changes in 30 days or less. And there are those cases it takes longer, but yeah, we're pretty blessed and excited to always have guests on. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story here on the Equinety Podcast. Wendy Goeden out of Pennsylvania, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I love the product. You guys gave me my horse back, and I can't be happier.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.